Hey guys, I'm back. So, I wanted to give you a little update. Hope you guys like my new green light, by the way. Thank you to my godmother for getting me that. So, obviously, if anybody's been looking at my feed, you can see that I've been dealing with a mass amount of agitation for the last several days. And you know what? I did get mad and yell into a camera for like 40 minutes the other day. And you know what? I had to take a deep breath, take a step back, and go, why am I even doing this? Why? What's the purpose? And, watching it back on the playback, I was like, you know what? It's just not worth it. Because, if my actual feelings went out on things, certain things, I'd be canceled in about 2.5. Now, I try to be a fucking open minded person, and I try very hard, even more so now with, you know, reflection on my own whatever, to not get irritated with people, not get irritated with a situation, but continually I find myself in a place where someone is constantly pushing my buttons. And, I'll tell you something, you can chalk it up to just, oh, that's how the world is, but really, it shouldn't be. And you know what? I haven't talked about it on here very much before, but I deal with bipolar disorder every day of my life, and the constant agitation that alone brings is hard enough to deal with. Let alone the fact, you know, and not anyone in specific, but I got people up my ass half the day over stuff that they could figure out themselves. And it's utterly frustrating when every single time you try to pick up the phone, somebody's got another problem. And like I said, not anyone in specific, but the general buildup over time, it gets to me. And I think I'm at a point where I need to step back and go, you know what, this is not my fight, this is not my battle. And, as much as it pains me to even have that kind of thought track and that thought method, I'm at a point where it's not so much about other people anymore. Because, you know what, continually I have really helped people and really, really tried to get certain points across. And, every time I'm met with another reason why it's not good enough. Like I don't work a normal job, and frankly, I don't even want to go back to it. I've, fast food, customer service kind of stuff, working in a tattoo shop. Nah, I'm just over it in general, because people's level of personal, I don't even know what word to use, whether it's hatred, misunderstanding, um, those are the first two that come to mind. And I can't really think of any other words to describe it at this, given point, but it's absolutely ridiculous the state of affairs that we are living in this current world. I had literally been so agitated today that, at a certain point, when I needed to do stuff for myself, I turned my phone off. Because, frankly, me waking up every day with everybody else's problems, it's not fun. And on top of that, not saying that it's the greatest place, but, you get on Facebook, whatever, social media, and, it's thoroughly aggravating as a man when you get up and most of the women that are looking at anything you do, they're very biased. They're very biased and they're very hard-minded, and it's all about them, it's all about themselves. And that is something I'm struggling to understand, even for myself, because the amount of sheer slander against men that I see on a daily basis, or, the throes of, oh, you're toxic masculinity, you're this, you're that, you're the other thing. Not to me personally, but just seeing it is enough to aggravate me. Because, I don't know, maybe I was raised differently with a different mentality, but, it's real funny to me, at least in the circumstances of the women that I've dated. I find it real funny that anytime I had decided to pick up something that was like a quote-unquote domestic chore, I would get repeatedly told not to do that, and that it was their issue to handle, whatever. But, when it comes to domestic things, whether it's your family, your kids, whatever, I am very much a person that feels that should be split equally. And, people getting bashed, men getting bashed, that's not really acceptable or funny to me. Because, and I'm being completely honest here, and I'm trying to say what I said in the other video without having an issue. But, I have seen my friends get attacked by women, my male friends, and it's not pretty. One of them got part of their face taken off, the other one got smashed in the side of the head. I'm not naming names, I'm just giving examples. And it's even more funny to me that that circumstance that befell that person recently, where somebody they knew was a victim of domestic violence, and I'm not talking they just got hit a couple times. I'm talking it was fatal. So now things are escalating to a point societally where the strain is too high, I think, on everybody. And it's pushing people to do things, it's pushing people apart, and I hate to say it, but that's the name of the game here. That's America for you. They are absolutely great at pitting one side against the other, and it has gone on time and time again for ages. You could go as far back to say even since Britain, but it has built to a point where my level of personal aggravation is too high. And because of that, I'm having to remove myself from certain situations because I can't deal with it emotionally. Because it either sets me so far off the deep end with what somebody's action or their choice of actions, let me put it that way, what they choose to do. It absolutely throttles me to a point where I can't even so much as be around the person. Because, with a person like me, especially with somebody who's bipolar, you say the wrong thing, they're gonna let you know. And they're gonna be very verbal and probably very aggressive and forward with you about how they feel and how they think. Um, you know, a good amount of my family suffers from bipolar disorder, and it is a common theme. And it is not always easy for us to interpret things properly because we have a chemical imbalance in our brain up here, not anything else. And, some people manage that with therapy, some people take pills. I will tell you straight up, I got 5250 and put in a mental institution. I have no problem telling somebody I have an issue. And, if it works for you, that's fine. But I'll tell you, my personal experience was absolutely horrid. And anything when it comes to medicating someone or basically sedating them to a point where, I'll be honest, I didn't even want to get out of bed. They had me on almost 1,500 milligrams of Depakote, and they tried me on Celexa, a bunch of other things, and, none of it worked. Not one thing of it worked. And so, after a certain point of sitting for 6 months with my head in a freaking pillow, to the point where I pretty much didn't even get up, I decided to kick the habit and deal with whatever my issues are on a level that someone else is not monitoring them. And let me tell you something right here. They are far more concerned about their paycheck than your mental health most of the time. And that's the sad part. Because not only me, my mom even, she tried to tell the doctor, and I'm sorry, it's a little difficult to talk about, but, like, nobody ever listened. Nobody ever wanted to make adjustments in my medication. Nobody ever wanted to uh, do the proper thing. And this was going through several different doctors. So this was not an isolated incident to one psychologist, etc. So it's hard for me to chalk it up to the idea of, oh, it's just one person. But I don't know. I guess I'm venting my frustration because, day in and day out, it is becoming continually harder for me to deal with. And I don't know what else to do. And if I don't have my therapist till Friday, I don't have her till Friday. And, I feel like I need to vent somewhere. Or I guess in my mind, I feel like something needs to be said about these kind of things. Because I've seen it too much. I've been a victim of it. My friends have been a victim of it. And being quite honest with you, nothing that ever happened between me and another woman ever became physical. And everything's been verbal. Yet I've had my things set on fire. I've had my I've had my heart broken. stomped on, abused, etc. Um, and, when it comes to that, it's not cool on either side. Whether you're male or female, that is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is you're striking your quote-unquote significant other slash lover slash partner, whatever term you use. And at some point, I think people need to realize that we're all in a box. And we've all been in a box for way too long. And that's coming from somebody who's a straight introvert, never goes outside, and stays completely isolated like a hermit. And pretty much doesn't even talk to anybody. Yes, obviously I have my following here. I've got people I talk to on Facebook, whatever. But those people really aren't my inner ring. And when it's starting to affect my inner ring and not just what is impacting on the outer side, because regardless, I would, unless somebody did something very vile, I would consider my subscribers, my people, my followers, all my friends. So the outer ring is, in my mind, irrelevant there, because that opinion is not going to be swayed. And if I consider everybody friends, all my subscribers, whatever, then, what do I consider my family? So I guess what I'm getting at is, when it's starting to affect everybody's families, that's when there's a real problem. Whether it's somebody doesn't have their space and someone's acting aggressively like I do because I'm cooped up in a tiny box and I'm tired of it, and I've got, everybody in my ear telling me what I'm doing is wrong and it's never going to pan out. That's a major aggravation alone right there. I put as much time into this channel as somebody does on a normal 9 to 5. Like, seriously, 8 hours a day. Unless I'm just absolutely not in the mood to care. And that is usually driven by outside forces, and it's temporary, and it goes away. But, personal strikes all the time against, your family members, whatever, are not cool. Like, people need to seriously sit back and think about how their attitude is and what it's doing and how it's affecting people, because no one seems to get it. And from the smallest grain up to the biggest mountain, nobody seems to understand anybody else's position on anything. And as much as I don't want it, that would lead to an all-out war. Just like people were throwing up their arms and saying over certain people. And that to me is ridiculous. The fact that anyone wants to pull an imperialistic tactic like that and essentially start another feudal war, absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, seriously, what kind of state of the world are we even living in anymore? Are we a society, or are we animals here, people? Really? Because all I see is people tearing each other apart, whether it's verbal or whether it's non-verbal. and it should never become nonverbal. And I don't know. I'm just driven up the wall with a lot of things lately, and honestly, I'm kind of at a point where I feel like I need my space. So I'll still be doing stuff, but I'm not going to be doing it as rapidly. That's for sure. Because I'm seriously taking a step back to even catch my own breath. Because what I'm living in here, to me, is not acceptable. You know, the fact that half of my things are still sitting out in my living room. Granted, I will say I would have to put more time into that. And I've been doing so. I've been trying at least to methodically not aggravate myself and do it in small little chunks every day. So I'm not absolutely losing my crap. Not only in a mental way, but in an actual I'm losing my crap way. Because if you know anything about mania, you'll get into a thing, you'll set something down, you'll get distracted, and then boom, you don't know where it is because your memory is going from one point to another and everything's jumping too fast with your emotions and progressively sending you into a panic fit. So, I don't know. I guess the message I want to leave with you guys is, it might sound harsh, but seriously sit back and take a look at yourself. And take a look at what the world's becoming. Because if this is the kind of monsters I'm going to have to deal with, honestly, I don't want any part of it. Because people have become something beyond vile. And frankly, I wouldn't even register most of them as human. Because I don't see humanity here anymore. I see one big problem that is escalating that is not being solved. So, I'm going to leave you guys with that. I'm getting off of here. I've had far too frustrating of a day. I will try to get back to some things tomorrow. But, my posts are going to be slower, for sure. Because it's time I take some time for myself. And that's the easiest way I can put it. It's not that I don't want to be producing 24/7 and getting myself out there, but you know, it's too much. The world is too much right now, and my things have gone to the wayside for months now. And I seriously need my own time to just do what I need to do, because I can't live in this cluttered chaos. I just can't. So, I'm getting off here. I'll talk to you guys later. You guys have a good night.